Hey everybody, welcome back. It's author MD New here with more tips and tricks for writers. I hope you all are having a great day. So today I want to talk about something that I find so much fun to do. I want to talk about world building and how to create a believable world for all types of stories. So these concepts that I'm going to share with you are regardless of the story type that you're writing. Sci-fi, fantasy, romance, historical fiction, fiction, urban fantasy, horror, paranormal, whatever. Keep in mind these tips and tricks as you're creating the world. Now, what do I mean when I say world building? I mean the location your story is taking place. Now, you can have a very claustrophobic story that may only take place in a house. That house is your world, so you have to think about it. Or you may have a grand, huge, uh, area that the characters travel through, which is a whole world or a whole continent or space itself. So that becomes your world, and you've got to build out that world. So when you're writing the story, you know all the ins and outs and all the little details. So you don't have to stop when you're writing to think about these things. You don't have to sit there and go, oh, wait, they're going here. Well, what does this place look like? I don't know. So you kind of want to think about all these things beforehand. Is this going to be an end all be all list? No, this is going to be a living document that you're going to create that you will expand upon as you build out your world and as you write your story. This is all the preliminary stuff. This is where you just sit down and you have fun and you start creating this place and this world for your characters to play in. So, the next thing to think about when you're starting your world building is who lives there. Seems easy enough, but what kind of creatures or people live in this world? What about animals? What about the plants? What about bugs and all the creepy crawlies? Again, even if your world for the story is just one house or one town or whatever, you have to think about all these small little things because it makes it more vivid in your mind. So if you're only developing a story that takes place in a single house, you want to think about, well, is the house two stories? Is there a basement? Is there an attic? Is it only one story? Where are all my characters going to go? What does this house look like? What might even help is to create a blueprint of the house. Very basic. You don't have to be all graphic designer about it. But you just create a plan. This is what the house looks like. This is the setting of the house, right? Same thing with your other stories. So if you're doing fantasy, maybe jot down what the continent that the characters are traveling on looks like. Where the mountain ranges are, where the oceans are, where the bays are, where the forests are, where the caves are, etc., etc., etc. Start filling those things out. And again, you don't have to be an art major to do this. You can just sit down with some scratch paper, or if you want to do it on your computer, that's fine too. Just start drawing it in. And it's all there for your reference. And that's kind of a big thing. You're doing this for you as an author. It's to help you with your creative process. You're building out this world so that you know where your characters can go, where they can't go, what they're going to run into, and all that. And again, it's a living document. So don't feel boxed in like, oh my gosh, I decided to put this story in a two-story house. Well, I have this, it goes on, and I can't have it happen there because they're doing this. And, you know, add another room, or add a basement, or add an attic, or have them go out in the yard. So you see what I'm saying? You can kind of expand it a little bit while still keeping the feel for where you're going to be at. The other thing that you have to think about is, are you going to be using our contemporary world? Are you going to be creating an urban fantasy world? What's the time period? What level of technology does this world have? Are they on an alien planet? These may be things that aren't pertinent to every story, but most stories are going to have some level of this involved. You know, You need to know what the time period is because if you're doing something contemporary, they're going to have cell phones and iPads and Apple Watches and all these other things. The tech is going to be there. But if you set this story back in, let's say, 2000, a lot of those things aren't going to be there. You know, you're going to have to slowly think about these things. And the further back you go, the more tech you're going to have to subtract, right? So even if you go into a fantasy world, you want to think about all those fantastic elements that are there. You know, how do they use carts? Do they use horses and buggies? Do they, you know, how do they get around? Do they have maybe a different kind of technology? Do they ride on a dragon? Anything like that. These are all the types of things that you want to start fleshing out in your world. So you have an idea of, okay, I'm writing a contemporary story, but it takes place in the 1980s. Okay, I have to look and see what kind of technology they had because not everybody's going to have a cell phone, right? They're not even going to have a pager in the early 1980s. So, those types of things you're going to want to think about. And it's like, oh, wow, I can't have so and so jump on their phone because they don't have cell phones in 1983 or whatever, right? So, some other things to think about are what does the world look like? Is it a desert world? Is it a lush garden area? Think about all those types of things. Think about like our planet or where you live and what's around you. You know, I live here in San Jose, California. We're a Mediterranean climate. So we tend to be very dry during the summer and we get some years we get no rain, but sometimes, but we do get rain. But I'm also on the coast. So where I live, I'm an hour from the beach and I'm 3 hours from the snow. So, kind of keep that in mind when you're building out where your characters are and what the world looks like for them. As I've already said, what kind of technology do they have? It may be contemporary, but it might be an alternate contemporary world where they don't have cell phones for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe just no one developed them. Who knows, right? But think about those types of things if you're going to make it a little bit different and have fun with it, right? That's the big thing. Have fun with this. You're in charge. You get to create it. Have fun. Next step, what kind of government? Are they a monarchy? Are they a represented republic? Are they a theocracy? Are they, whatever, a monarchy, etc. Think about that. What kind of government controls these people's lives? Along with that, what are the laws? Are there big laws that, they can't cross that can cause problems or not? Are they religious? Do they have religion? Do they not have religion? Again, that's something else that you can play with, right? If they have religion, do they have multiple religions like we have? Or do they just have one singular religion? Are they at war? Are they at peace? Those will affect the world that the characters live in greatly. Are you creating something new or is this all just based on Earth? It's fine either way, but think about it and think a little bit outside the box because this is your opportunity to fix the things you don't like and to change the things that you wish you could change or to enhance the things that you do like. So it's just an opportunity to have some fun, create the world that these characters live in, and that way, you know what they're doing and you can have a great time with them. I've touched on this a little bit, but let's talk about the rules of the world. Does your world have magic or fantastic creatures or vampires and witches and werewolves and ghosts and dragons and elves, dwarfs, etc., etc., etc.? What are the rules for all of these things? For example, how does magic work? Do they just wave their hands? Do they have to cast a spell? Do they have a magic wand? You know, what are the rules associated with it? Can they turn, they turn um, a rock into a chunk of gold? Those types of things, right? Figure out what the rules are that work with the magic that you want to use in the story and go from there. And it's the same with your creatures, right? think of it this way. Everything has to have a cost, right? So nothing can be perfect. So there's got to be a reason for something to not work, or there's got to be a weakness, let's say, for the creatures or the other species that you create, because you want to make them as believable as possible. So if you give them weaknesses and foibles and stuff like that, then they become a lot more believable, and it gives you something again to play with. Speaking of fantastic creatures, do you have imps? Do you have dragons? Those types of things. What makes them what they are? How does that work? How does it affect the world that they live in? Do you have unicorns? Those types of things. So really think about all these different elements. Sit down, have some fun, write it out. You already know what the story is in your head, or you may not, and this might be a good way to, create what the story is going to be. But either way, spend a little time developing your world, getting to know the place that these characters are going to inhabit, and most of all, have fun. This should not be hard. It should not be scary. It should not give you hives. You don't stress out about it. Just sit down, have some fun, play around, work on it, and enjoy. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always around. You can find me on all the usual social medias, or you can email me. Yeah, let me know what you think about world building. Do you get excited about it as much as I do, or is it something that you dread? Anyways, let me know in the comments below, guys. Have a great day. Take care. See you soon. Bye.